Okay, here we go, back again. Got a couple of important emails I'd like to share with everybody. Well, actually, these people would like them shared with you. This one young lady, she sent both Scott and I the same email. And I think it's a pretty important one to share. It's obviously important to her. Now, listen to this one. Hi, Steve. I appreciate your no BS attitude when it comes to the cover-up of these big, hairy men. I'm turning to you to tell you my story because I'm greatly concerned. It's probably more accurate to say that I'm terribly ashamed of myself. I realize it's a long story, but please bear with me. I do hope you'll take the time to read it and help me. I think you and Scott are the only ones who can. I'm a Native American woman, and my encounter happened almost 20 years ago. But it's clear in my head as if it happened just yesterday. I'm sure it always will be. I've lived my life doing things off-grid, and usually as far out in the wilderness as I can go. I've climbed to the summit of mountains, stayed at 12,000 feet, in a tent by myself for a month, and I've slept in the snow just for fun. I'm that woman who usually can't find any friends to go with me camping because no one wants to go in the winter or rough it as far as out as I go. Yeah, it's the story of my lifetime. Well, not really. I got lots of people that do that crazy crap. You would think I would have my encounter in one of these remote places in one of my excursions, but I didn't. I came across this being right smack dab in the middle of the day, right off a crowded beach full of swimmers in northeastern Washington. My encounter was up close for a few minutes, but lasted at a distance most of the day. I went kayaking with my kids. My sister-in-law and her kids at a large wilderness lake in the far northeast corner of Washington by the Canadian border. We stopped at a crowded beach at midday so that we could eat our lunch and stretch out our thighs. Both my sister-in-law and I felt extremely uneasy there, and we decided not to stay long. After the kids had eaten, she loaded them up in the boats and all left together. I lagged behind so I could eat my lunch. I noticed the beach had emptied of the many families who were swimming, and I was now completely alone. I started feeling really uneasy. I noticed off in the distance an old man walk down a steep embankment with two small boys and sit down under a rope swing about 100 yards off the beach. He was watching the two while they were doing what little boys do, tossing stones in the water and playing at the water's edge. They had their backs to him and didn't seem to be paying attention to him. I decided to sit in my boat offshore about 25 yards to finish my lunch and watch them. I felt safe there for a little while, but the feeling of being watched from some other direction was quickly becoming overwhelming, and I was beginning to let my imagination get the best of me. I thought maybe there was something dangerous in the water, and since I had given my life vest to one of the kids, and I'm a lousy swimmer, I decided to kayak over to the shore and stay within reach of it while I made my way around the lake. I kayaked over the shore and headed in that direction of the family, who were now about a quarter mile ahead of me in the big water. I had to pass right by the old man along my way. He was sitting on the shore on what looked like a stump with his left leg crossed over his right. His hands were clasped over his upper knee and he was staring at me. As I got closer and closer to him, the two little boys had vanished and he was still sitting there watching me. I no longer felt uneasy. In fact, I felt safe knowing that he had his eyes on me so intently. I thought if there was something dangerous in the water and I accidentally rolled my boat, he would at least see it and maybe even rescue me. I waved at him, but he didn't wave back. I assumed he was old because he was wearing a turtleneck sweater and long pants. It was such a hot day, I just figured he must be elderly and have a bad circulation. I waved at him again, but he still didn't wave back. As I approached him, I saw that he was not elderly at all. He was probably only in his mid-40s. His hair was slightly salt and pepper. His beard had streaks of gray. He was extremely handsome, movie star quality, with perfect features. I know I was staring at him with my jaw dropped because people that attractive don't show up very often. He seemed to have a gleam in his eyes that suggested he was enjoying my reaction to seeing him. One corner of his lips curled up slightly in a subtle smile. He had a strong jaw, a perfect nose, high cheekbones, and his eyes were almond-shaped but not slanted, and a very pretty light brown color. His skin was dark tanned and looked native, but he had a full, short-trimmed beard. His lips were full, but not leathery or disproportionate. He was gorgeous. He wasn't glaring at me, but he was squinting from the sun. Even though his eyes were narrowed, I could still tell he had large, very thick, lashed eyes. They weren't overly big or bulging. They were perfectly proportioned, As I passed him, literally 7 feet away, I realized I was staring at him. How rude of me. So I averted my eyes. It was then I noticed he was not wearing a turtleneck, but was completely covered in thick, silver-tipped brown hair. Everywhere. He was not wearing any clothes at all, but was completely covered in short, glossy, clean-looking hair. I was close enough I could tell the direction it grew in. Had he not been covered in hair, I would have thought I had a chance meeting with a movie star or a Hollywood model. He was absolutely stunning. His shoulders were very broad and his chest muscled, and his biceps were defined but not freakish like those goofy bodybuilders who get on steroids. He was strong looking but not abnormal for his size. I glanced ahead of my boat and then looked back over my shoulder at him. By then he stood up and reached over his head to swipe a branch out of his face. He had to have been at least 8 feet tall. He was so muscular, I could see his muscles rippling beneath his hair and his biceps and his thighs. It was surreal. I wasn't afraid, just curious. I glanced ahead and back again, and he completely disappeared in the trees. By the time I caught up with my family, my sister-in-law brought to my attention there was a hunter walking at the top of the mountain in a huge open clearing alongside me. I was in the water, and he was about a half mile away as the crow flies, above me on the steep mountain. He kept up with my boat and walked, looking down the mountain toward me every few steps, and for the rest of the day I lost sight of him when the high meadow dropped back into the trees on the other side of the mountain. By the time I was loading up the boats in my truck, it was almost dark. I even thought, even though I didn't see him, I knew he was there in the trees still watching me. I couldn't get the encounter out of my mind. I never once thought it was a Sasquatch. I honestly thought he was a very attractive man with some kind of skin disorder that caused excessive body hair. You see, I don't believe in Bigfoot. I thought it was a myth, told by the elders to keep kids from playing too far from camp. I thought I must have come across someone who had the same disorder as Wolf Boy from the old Barman and Bailey circus during the time of the century. I was curious. I set out to research it. As it turned out, I was perusing the internet, searching for information when I came across a website that seemed to be an informative site. It was a forum for anomalies, and if you told them your story, maybe they would help you solve your mystery. I posted what I had seen and didn't think anything of it until I got a phone call. This is back when there was caller ID boxes that would show who was calling on your landline. I got this call within 1 hour of posting it. The caller ID read, U.S. Government. I picked up, not knowing what was going on. The person who answered told me he was so-and-so from the Department of, I can't remember, and he would like to talk to me about the Sasquatch I had seen. I honestly had to ask him who he was again, because the name Sasquatch completely took me off guard. He repeated it, and I instantly recognized that I didn't want to talk to him, and it hung up. This is where I feel ashamed. My curiosity got the best of me, and I began researching Bigfoot and came across a newly organized BF blah blah O. I eventually got up the nerve and told my story. I received a lot of ridicule from even my sister-in-law, who claimed all I had seen was a hunter and to quit being a ninny, of course. So I was hell-bent on finding anyone I could to who would believe me. The BF blah blah O seemed to be trustworthy. I told them my story, and it wasn't long before I was asked to be interviewed on several Bigfoot radio stations and speak at several conferences. In fact, I was supposed to speak at another conference this coming weekend, but it was canceled due to the COVID-19. I have met Bob Gimlin and all the others who, now, terrify me to realize what they could be capable of. You see, after you brought to our attention the lost footage in the Patterson Gimlin film, I'm wondering if every time someone tells or encounters these Bigfoot organizations, does the government make a note for the whereabouts of these poor beings and go in and exterminate them? I don't know. From what I understand, that is a high possibility for sure. That is directly, possibly. Nope, I'm saying possibly. But I'm getting it from so many different directions from educated people that that is definitely probably the case with that one big website and organization. All I know so far. But it's enough fuel for you guys to dig for yourselves and look for yourself, right? I will never forgive myself if I was the cause of that. I'm going to say it, man's death. I remember flat stating to the crowd in front of Bob and Jeff in one of the Bigfoot conferences I spoke at that to kill one of these people would be murder. He nodded in agreement, but I wonder if he changed at all internally. I'm sick to my stomach over it. I've told exactly where I saw the big hairy man on many occasions, and now I wonder if that was an exterminator and I wonder if that was an exterminator monitoring the program, just waiting for the location to go in and thin the Sasquatch out of the area. I pray not. The man I saw was just that. He was a man. He was not an ape. He was intelligent. And even though he didn't speak, I could tell he had personality and a soul. I will admit that all in my heart that when I looked into his eyes, I felt I was looking at someone who was superior to me in intelligence, kind of like a college professor when you're just starting high school. To kill one of them truly would be murder, and I feel sick to my stomach to think that my testimony could lead or have led to his demise. Should we be telling our stories, or does this put these beings in danger? Thank you for reading my story. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I'm glad you're brave enough to stand your ground. Stay safe out there. Sincerely, Angelique. Well, Angelique, thanks for sharing your story, and hopefully, as far as I'm concerned, this is a great safe place for people to share their encounters. And I assure you, we're not recording any locations, and we're not sending any information off to anybody. Whatever you send us and say share it, we're sharing with the crowd online. And as far as, this is just my personal feelings, but as far as those conferences go and those so-called big names, that group of white guys that have marketed themselves and created business around this topic very successfully, bravo on them. But what we're doing now is we're trying to get this focus back on the people. It's about the people and it's about these beings. It's not about that business and industry over there. They're that big now. That group of people, what they represent, what they're doing, they are seriously that big compared to what's really going on now. And why do I say that? It's not an insult. It's just showing you the mathematical equation, the ratio. You got that old school group of people over there claiming to have dedicated their lives and all this time and money and effort into this topic. But the reality is, even though they may have put forward this effort, there is still tens of thousands of people who are not willing to speak openly about this topic. So that is the case, and there's no denying it. So if that's the case, then what is exactly all these so-called big names in this community, this topic, what have they done then? Not much, as far as I'm concerned. A lot of them have made money, and a lot of them have ruthlessly attacked so many people. It's so bizarre. And as of late, the past couple of weeks as well, a couple of these promoters have taken the opportunity to twist some things that we've been sharing and saying to attempt to make it look like it is about the person, the one individual they're promoting. And they know how to promote stuff, right? Go on the attack, create attention, start a new Facebook page and go for it. And I guess that's successful business tactics for them. But in reality, trust me, that group and that item is about that big. And the group and the item we're representing and all of us are talking to is the size of the planet. And that's a fact. Because I think the majority of the people that follow my channel, Scott's channel, David Paulides' channel, and others, it's very, very easy to see through the BS now, and it's very easy to see that what we should be focusing on got lost a long time ago, directly due to that group of people who are turning this into a business, right? So, but moving along, Angelique, I wouldn't be too ate up with guilt because previous to the people that you contacted, where else would you have gone? Where else could you go? There wasn't any available safe places to go, right? It's all about these people that want the information, want to control, want to make the money, and do whatever they're doing behind the scenes, which I am not 100% familiar with, and I'm not overly concerned about. So, but if I could offer up any kind of comfort, just let's be known that these guys have had real poor luck in successfully tracking down individual beings as it is. If you can hear that noise in the background, it's just a tractor way down below me, and all the noise really creeps up the valley floor smoothly. But I wouldn't worry about it. These beings are very, very, very intelligent, very stealthy, and I think it would take a lot to specifically go out and target one months later after you encountered this being right there. I'm sure they're quite safe and existing alongside us, no problem as usual. But anyway, on that note, I'm going to share another one with you while I'm standing right here. And this is a little, okay, so on that note, I'm going to share another one with you guys, alright? Now listen to this. Am I going to change the name? She's not quite comfortable to say her name out loud yet. That's fine. Whatever makes you comfortable, that's fine. It's okay. So I'm going to change her name right away, and we're going to say, my name is Kathy. I went on a BF expedition back in September 2019. I have loved your channel since I came across it. It makes sense what you're saying about them, the so-called bigwigs, intimidating people. Because now that I think of it, we had to sign a disclosure agreement before we went, saying that we wouldn't share any info where we went, and if we caught something on camera, that it actually belongs to Matt M. That's that big opportunistic, abusive, fat slob in California, in case you weren't familiar. I remember thinking how unfair that is. I'm a single mom. I spent $300 to go on this expedition, and if I caught anything on camera, it belongs to him? What the hell? I didn't think that was fair. If you'd like, you can share this info, but not my name quite just yet. Well, that's a common one too. You know, I'm pretty sure that every single person out there, no matter where you go to sign up for any kind of an expedition or a trip or a tour, you just got to do your due diligence. You know, just got to do your due diligence. Find people that have gone on these similar expeditions or camping trip or being guided by whoever for whatever it is, not just these things, but anything. But it's up to every one of you to do your due diligence and find out just how reputable the individuals are that are taking your money. Okay? There should be a success rate and references with any business that has a public surface. And I strongly suggest you contact every single one of those people or canvas online for people who have gone on some of these expeditions to get a hold of you and tell you just exactly how it went down. Okay? Because like I said months back when I get fired up. You know, just so you know too, I don't get fired up about people attacking me. I really don't. You know, a bunch of you forwarded me that cartoon the other day that apparently the character that made the cartoon was quoted as doing the dirty work of that guy who's controlling and promoting the old guy. I'm not going to say his name because I'm not going to help promote that dumbass. But just so you know, I got that cartoon and it was pretty funny. You got to admit, the guy's pretty talented at making cartoons, but it doesn't rile me up the slightest, obviously. All they are, I mean, think about it. If you actually allow yourself to get worked up and react from reality TV people, come on, man. Reality TV and the people that are on those shows are about that big. And all of us can't even reach as big as we are, okay? And that's where we'll leave that. But what does get me going pretty quick is when I hear firsthand about people getting abused. Used and abused. Okay, and there is a long, lengthy trail of used and abused that accompanies a handful of these characters. No way getting out of that one. Proof's all over the frickin' map. You know, like that man who was in the sea shelter on the coast of British Columbia here, not far from here, and was he father of 4 or 5 or something, broken back, had multiple interactions with these beings on his property, contacted this group. What did they do? They went to him, used all of his information, stayed at his place, put him to work, gathered information, helping him out. They didn't even give him a 6-pack of beer, took thousands of dollars from all those people they charged to go to this man's property where he invited them to come. They took all the money from those people, didn't put them up, didn't transport them, didn't feed them, and also told them anything they kept in their cameras belongs to them. And then they went on to the attack of this poor guy, didn't even give him 5 cents for his gas money, and he basically lost everything eventually at that particular home, that campground, and they go off to carry on to the next victim. That's what they do. And that's not me lashing out or making up BS. You can look into it yourselves, as usual. That's all we do here is try to talk everybody into looking into everything themselves and find out for yourself. Think for yourself. Don't be led by these people and controlled by them, all right? But anyway, I guess that's all I can say on that topic is do your due diligence before signing up for anything with anyone. But anyway, that's about all I can tell all you is make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure you do your due diligence on any and all characters you're about to associate yourself with or contact or promote, and make sure it's the right thing to do and that they're solid. Okay? And then, and for all you other people out there that want to share your story, again, it's tellmystory@howtohunt.com or share your story at howtohunt or share your story at howtohunt.com. and we will eventually read it, get back to you, and keep this ball rolling. And I'm sure you're going to be rifling a pile of questions at me about what's been going down lately with all the information coming our way. And like I said before, it takes a little bit of time, all right? It just takes time, but there is plenty more. There's so much more. It's pretty exciting, actually. It's feeling exciting. You know, I mean, I've taken up this position by accident, and I'm in for the long haul. So I'm in to help people as much as I can. If there's people out there that are abusive and lying, I am absolutely in for the long haul and exposing them and helping people with their truth and giving support to all of you thousands of people out there that haven't had support previous. That's what we're doing, and obviously it's working, and that's why this channel's been getting popular on its own, because still today I've never promoted it, never asked anybody to come here, and never asked anybody to like, share, or subscribe. So I guess that's probably pretty frustrating to those people that are attempting to be professional promoters, huh?